A poor, single black dad took in strange twin girls for one night, unaware their father was a millionaire. Now, to the single parent listening right now, this story is for you. Let this remind you, you are not failing, you are fighting. You are brave, you are not alone, and your child is lucky to have you. And to my wonderful viewers, your kindness, your time, your quiet strength, it all matters here. You're not just watching, you're part of this story too. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from, because what you're about to hear? It's deeper than you think. The rain came down in sheets that night, pounding the roof of a modest duplex on the outskirts of town. Inside, Malik Johnson, a poor single black father in his late 30s, sat hunched over a stack of overdue bills. Once, he had been a rising star in architecture, drafting sleek designs and competing for contracts. But now he was a man fighting just to keep the lights on. His electricity bill lay on the counter, stamped in red. Final notice. It was almost 10 o'clock, and his body begged him to sleep. But his mind wouldn't stop spinning. Thoughts of his children. Jordan and Lila, who lived states away with their mother, kept him awake. He hadn't seen them in months. He missed their laughter, their hugs, their voices calling him Dad. Just as Malik let out a long, tired sigh, a sound cut through the storm. Knock, knock, knock. He froze. Who could possibly be at his door this late, in weather like this? With cautious steps, Malik approached. Through the rain-streaked window, he spotted two young women, drenched to the bone, clutching each other for warmth. Their clothes, designer coats, leather boots, looked wildly out of place against the rundown duplex. Malik opened the door just enough to be heard over the storm. "Can I help you?" The taller of the two, Naomi, spoke first. Her voice trembled, half from cold, half from desperation. "Our car broke down a mile back. We've been knocking on doors for help, but no one answered." Her twin sister, Nia, added softly, "Please, sir, just for tonight. We'll leave as soon as we can in the morning." Malik's instincts wrestled inside him. He had nothing to spare. Not food, not space, not even warmth, really. And strangers? In the middle of a storm? Every logical part of him screamed, "Don't do it." But then he looked at them again. The soaked hair sticking to their cheeks, the way their teeth chattered uncontrollably, and he remembered Jordan and Lila. If his kids were stranded in the rain, wouldn't he pray anyone would open their door? With a heavy sigh, Malik swung the door open wider. "Come in, before you freeze out there." The twins rushed inside, water dripping onto the faded carpet. Malik handed them worn towels, apologizing that he didn't have more. He offered the little food he had left, peanut butter sandwiches and instant noodles. It wasn't much, but the gratitude in their eyes made it feel like a feast. As the storm howled outside, Malik set up the pull-out couch for them. The room was small, the walls peeling, but he made it as comfortable as possible. The twins settled in, shivering less now, their eyes darting around his humble space. "You live here alone?" Naomi asked gently. "Yeah," Malik admitted. His voice cracked a little. "Used to have a family under this roof." But things changed. Something about the twins. Presence loosened the knot in his chest. He found himself telling them about the life he'd lost, how he once had a promising career, how divorce and business failure had stripped it away, how he longed for his kids but could only afford rare visits. Nia's eyes welled with empathy. "That doesn't make you less of a father. If anything, it makes you stronger." For the first time in weeks, Malik felt seen. Truly seen. The storm outside raged on, but inside that little duplex, a quiet warmth spread. He didn't know who these young women really were, or why fate had pushed them to his door. But he knew this: in choosing kindness, he had chosen hope. The storm refused to let up. Rain hammered the windows as thunder rolled like a war drum. Inside Malik's tiny duplex, though, something unexpected was happening. Naomi and Nia sat cross-legged on the pull-out couch, wrapped in his old blankets. Their expensive coats now hung over a chair to dry, and their wet boots rested by the door. The scene was strange. Two women who looked like they belonged in a magazine, now curled up in the worn-down home of a man fighting just to survive. Malik moved between the kitchen and the living room, refilling mugs with instant cocoa. It was all he had, and he worried it wasn't enough. But when Nia sipped from the chipped mug, her face lit up with a smile. "This is the warmest thing I've had all day." That simple line disarmed him. For the first time in a long while, Malik laughed. "I'd give you more if I could." "You've already given us more than 17 houses did tonight," Naomi said, her tone sharper than her sister's. "You're the only one who opened the door." That struck him. 17 houses? He shook his head, a mix of disbelief and sadness washing over him. Guess kindness is in short supply these days. They fell into conversation, the kind that stretches late into the night. The twins asked Malik about his life, and he surprised himself by answering honestly. "I used to design buildings," he told them, his voice low. "Had my own little firm, thought I was on top of the world. Then came the recession, a messy divorce, bad deals. It all crumbled. Now I'm just trying to keep the lights on." Naomi leaned forward. "And your kids?" At the mention of Jordan and Lila, Malik's eyes softened. "They're everything. I don't care if I have to sleep in my car, I'll always fight for them. But right now they live with their mom in Oregon. Every bill I pay, every meal I skip, it's just so I can save enough to see them." The room went quiet. Even the storm seemed to pause as the weight of his words settled in. Then Nia whispered, "You are not failing. You are fighting. Don't forget that." Malik's throat tightened. No one had said words like that to him in years. He looked at the twins, two strangers, and yet in that moment they felt like family. Hours passed. They spoke about dreams, about how the world judged people by what they wore or owned instead of what was in their hearts. The twins never revealed much about themselves, only that they were in town to look at houses for a friend. Still, Malik noticed the way they carried themselves, their voices, their posture, their quiet confidence. These weren't ordinary girls. When the clock finally pushed past midnight, Malik pulled out extra pillows and dimmed the lights. "Get some sleep. Tomorrow we'll figure out your car." Naomi and Nia exchanged a look. One of those silent conversations only twins could have. Then they both smiled at him. "Thank you," Naomi said softly. "You didn't just give us shelter," Nia added. "You reminded us that kindness still exists." Malik nodded, embarrassed by the lump in his throat. He retreated to his bedroom, but sleep didn't come easily. He lay awake listening to the rain, replaying the evening in his head. For months, his life had been nothing but struggle and silence. Tonight, though, the house was alive, with voices, with laughter, with hope. He didn't know it yet, but letting those twins through his door had set in motion a chain of events that would tear his world apart, only to rebuild it stronger than ever. By dawn, the storm had broken. Golden sunlight spilled across Malik's worn-out blinds, cutting through the shadows of his small duplex. For the first time in a long while, the house felt alive. Malik rubbed the sleep from his eyes, half convinced the night before had been a dream. But when he walked into the living room, there they were, Naomi and Nia, sitting together on the couch, whispering and laughing softly. Their hair was still damp, their coats freshly dried, but their presence brought a strange warmth into the space. "Morning," Malik said, his voice still thick from sleep. The twins looked up with bright smiles. "Good morning," Nia replied. "We hope we didn't trouble you." "Not at all," Malik said, forcing a grin. "Though I should warn you, breakfast here isn't much of a feast." He opened his cupboards and sighed. A few eggs. Half a loaf of bread. Some cereal that was probably older than it should be. He did his best anyway, frying what little he had left. The smell filled the small kitchen, and when he placed the plates before them, the twins clasped their hands together in gratitude, as if he'd served a king's banquet. "You didn't have to do this," Naomi said, looking at him with eyes sharper than her sister's but no less kind. "Yes, I did," Malik replied firmly. "Last night you needed a roof. This morning you needed a meal. That's how it should be." The girls exchanged another one of those silent twin glances, then smiled at him. Something about their look unsettled Malik, not in a bad way, but in a way that hinted they carried secrets. After breakfast, Malik grabbed his coat and old set of tools. "Let's go check on that car of yours." The twins followed him down the road, their expensive boots crunching against the damp gravel. The neighborhood looked different in the morning light. Ordinary houses, freshly washed by the storm. But Malik noticed how people peeked from behind curtains, watching, whispering. He remembered Naomi saying 17 doors had been slammed in their faces the night before. The thought made his chest heavy. They reached the car, a sleek black sedan that looked far too luxurious to belong to two young women traveling alone. Malik crouched, popped the hood, and whistled low. "Well, there's your problem. Alternator belt snapped clean." The twins bent to look, though it was clear neither had a clue what they were seeing. "Can you fix it?" Nia asked. "Not out here, not without parts," Malik admitted. "But I can help you call a tow truck. They'll get you sorted." While waiting, they stood together in the cool morning air. Naomi fidgeted with something in her pocket before pulling out a small card. She pressed it into Malik's hand. "Thank you, Malik, for last night, for everything." He looked at the card. It bore her name and a number. But he barely glanced at it before sliding it into his pocket. His mind was already weighed down with bills, work, and his endless longing for Jordan and Layla. A business card felt meaningless against those struggles. The tow truck arrived, and Malik helped secure the car. The twins hesitated, as if reluctant to leave. Naomi hugged him first, unexpectedly tight. Then Nia followed, whispering, "Don't lose hope. Better days are coming." Malik stood there as the truck pulled away, the roar of the engine fading down the street. For a moment, silence wrapped around him again, the kind of silence he knew too well. He walked back to his duplex alone, unaware that the simple act of kindness he had shown was about to ripple into something far greater than he could ever imagine. 2 weeks passed. Life slipped back into its harsh rhythm for Malik Johnson. The glow of that stormy night had faded, replaced by overdue notices and the hum of his empty fridge. He picked up small drafting gigs online, tiny projects that barely kept his head above water. At night, he stared at photos of Jordan and Layla, whispering promises to see them soon, even as his bank account mocked him. The business card Naomi had pressed into his hand? It lay forgotten under a pile of unopened mail. Then, one Tuesday afternoon, a black SUV rolled into his neighborhood. The engine purred like a beast as it stopped in front of Malik's duplex. He was on his porch, sketching ideas for a community library design he hoped might land him some freelance work, when he noticed the vehicle. The back door opened. Out stepped Naomi. Then Nia. Dressed sharp, confident, their presence lit up the dull street. Malik blinked in shock. "You! What are you doing here?" Before he could process, another figure emerged. Tall, imposing, silver hair slicked back, a custom-tailored suit that probably cost more than Malik's yearly rent. His very presence demanded attention. Naomi stepped forward. "Malik, this is our father, Victor Harrington." The man's eyes locked on Malik, cool and assessing. Then, surprisingly, he extended a firm hand. "Mr. Johnson, I've heard a great deal about you." Malik stood frozen, every nerve in his body screaming questions. He shook Victor's hand hesitantly. I don't understand. What's going on?" Victor's lips curled into something between a smile and a test. "My daughters told me about the night you opened your door when no one else would. About how you sheltered them, fed them, treated them with dignity. 17 houses turned them away. You were the 18th, and the only one who showed character." Malik's stomach twisted. He glanced at the twins, who nodded with quiet encouragement. Victor stepped into Malik's humble living room without asking permission, surveying the peeling paint, the second-hand furniture, the pile of bills shoved into a corner. Instead of disdain, there was curiosity in his eyes. "You're an architect, aren't you?" Victor asked. Malik stiffened. "I was, before everything fell apart." Victor nodded slowly. "My daughters told me more than that. About your children, about your fight to be present in their lives despite the odds, about your integrity." He turned, his gaze sharp. "Malik, integrity is rarer than talent, and you, my friend, seem to have both." Malik's heart pounded. "What are you saying?" Victor folded his arms. "I own Harrington Development Group, one of the largest firms in the country. We design skyscrapers, stadiums, entire city districts. And yet, talent means nothing to me without character. That storm gave me the perfect test. My daughters were searching for someone worthy of trust. They found you." Malik shook his head, overwhelmed. This doesn't make sense. I'm just a man trying to survive. You don't owe me anything." Victor's voice thundered with conviction. "It's not about owing you. It's about opportunity. I want you on my team. Senior project architect. Salary enough to relocate closer to your children. Enough to rebuild your life. And," he glanced at the twins, who smiled warmly, "full educational scholarships for Jordan and Layla. Whatever schools they choose, we'll cover it." Malik stumbled back, his breath caught in his throat. He had spent nights begging the universe for a chance. Just one chance. And now it stood in his living room in the form of a man whose wealth and influence stretched beyond imagination. I don't know what to say," Malik whispered. "Say yes," Naomi urged gently. Tears stung Malik's eyes as he looked around his small home. The bills, the cracked walls, the memories of struggle. And then he saw the faces of his children in his mind, smiling, free, finally within reach. "Yes," he choked out. "Yes, I'll do it." Victor clasped his shoulder firmly. "Good. Then let's begin. You'll have legal support for custody, a new home near your children, and a career worthy of your talent. You opened your door that night, Malik. Now we open ours to you." Malik's knees nearly gave way. For the first time in years, hope didn't feel like a cruel joke. It felt real, solid, standing in front of him. As the Harringtons prepared to leave, Victor paused at the door. "Remember this, Malik. Wealth doesn't reveal character. Storms do. And in the storm, you proved yourself." The SUV pulled away, leaving Malik on the porch, his world forever changed. 6 months later, the Malik Johnson, who stood in front of a glass skyscraper in downtown Portland, looked nothing like the man drowning in overdue bills. His once-worn suit had been replaced by a tailored jacket. His tired eyes now carried purpose. The firm logo, Harrington Development Group, shone on the building behind him. But the true transformation wasn't in the paycheck or the prestige. It was in the 2 children running toward him after school. "Daddy!" Jordan and Lila shouted in unison. Malik knelt, scooping them into his arms as their laughter filled the air. His chest tightened with joy. For too long he had dreamed of this moment. Joint custody, weekends filled with their voices, weekdays when they stayed with him in their new home. And now, thanks to one stormy night and a single act of kindness, it was real. Inside the Harrington offices, Malik had already made a name for himself. His designs breathed life into communities. His current project? A state-of-the-art community center dedicated to families like his own. People who had been overlooked. People fighting to hold on. At his desk one evening, Naomi stopped by with a mischievous smile. "You've settled in faster than anyone thought you would," Malik chuckled. "Guess I just needed someone to believe in me." Nia joined them, adding warmly, "You believed in us first. That's what Dad saw." Malik paused, his throat thick. "That night, I thought I was just opening a door. Turns out, I was opening a future." The twins exchanged a look, one of pride this time. They had witnessed firsthand the ripple effect of one man's choice to show compassion. Later that week, Malik sat across from Victor Harrington in the executive boardroom. The man who once tested him with silence now regarded him as an equal. "Malik," Victor said, leaning forward, You've done more than deliver designs. You've restored faith in what this company stands for. Building with purpose, not just profit. Malik bowed his head humbly. I'm just doing what I know best, using my gift to serve people. Victor smiled, a rare softness in his sharp features. And that is why you'll go far. The words hit Malik like fuel to a fire. For years, he had been told he was finished, washed up, a failure. Now, the very opposite was being spoken over him. Thanksgiving arrived, and with it, an invitation that sealed his place in the Harrington family. Malik sat at their long oak dining table, his children by his side, laughter echoing as plates overflowed with food. Naomi and Nia teased him about his cooking skills, while Jordan and Layla bonded with them, as if they'd always been family. For a moment, Malik simply looked around the table, his eyes misting over. Once, his dinners had been solitary affairs of instant noodles and silence. Now, surrounded by warmth, he realized the full weight of how far he had come. After dessert, Victor raised a glass. To storms, he declared, because storms reveal character, and sometimes they lead us to people we were meant to meet. Everyone lifted their glasses. Malik swallowed hard, his chest swelling with gratitude. That night, as he tucked Jordan and Lila into bed in his new home, Lila whispered, "Daddy, are we going to stay here forever?" Malik kissed her forehead. "Forever, baby girl. This is home now." When he finally sat on the edge of his bed, Malik pulled out that old business card Naomi had once pressed into his hand. He turned it over slowly, marveling at how such a small piece of paper had carried such enormous weight. He smiled, slid it back into his wallet, and whispered into the quiet room, "Thank you, Lord, for storms, for second chances, for kindness." The screen fades to Malik standing outside the community center he designed, children playing in the background, his own kids holding his hands. The narrator's voice rises with conviction. Remember this: sometimes, the smallest act of kindness can open doors no wealth or power ever could. Malik Johnson didn't just change his life that night. He changed the lives of his children, his community, and everyone who crossed his path. And it all began with a knock on the door. And that, my friends, is the story of Malik Johnson, the poor, single black dad who opened his door to two strangers and found a future he never imagined. His life reminds us that storms don't just bring trouble. Sometimes they bring destiny. To every single parent listening right now, remember this: you are not failing. You are fighting. You are brave. You are not alone. And your children, they are blessed to have you. Now, let me turn to you, my amazing viewers. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that kindness still matters in a world that often forgets, then don't just leave it here. Carry it forward. Share it. Live it. Because you never know when your own act of compassion might change a life forever. Before you go, hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. I want to see how far this message of hope and resilience can travel.